Shalom, shalom. Call hello, Yahweh Shemam Shai, Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered hope for the elect, the Israelite foreigners that are scattered among the heathen nations that be like unto the speckled bird. To the Akwaf that are listening and learning. To you, I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm. I'm coming at you with another lesson. Current events and things that matter. Right now, on top of all the things that's going on in the world, there's still a war raging on. The war in Syria, which is the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which will eventually draw everyone into it. Because it's all these things are connected. The coronavirus, the fall, the collapse of the dollar, the collapse of Babylon, and I believe this I know that this coronavirus was released purposely, and the more that I'm observing it, I do believe, that it was released to disguise the collapse of the dollar, because the dollar will more than likely collapse this year or the next, and that's there's no way getting around that. It's all interconnected, but nevertheless, there's a war raging on over there. So without any further ado, let me, I wrote down some notes from the news that I was listening to and watching. And it says that Syria, Turkey, and Russia, are at war. You got the Syrian rebels that are siding with the Turks, okay, which we know who's behind that. And then fight the Syrian soldiers, and then Russia struck back with airstrikes to beat them back. So they had a pretty good ground battle going on, where they were using tanks and those big heavy guns, and they actually penetrated some of the Syrian defenses. And then the Russians beat them back with their air force. They use their fighter jets to come in and do a land, and drop bombs on the Turkish troops and beat them back. And that is the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and eventually that thing is just going to continue to escalate until it draws everyone into it, because Turkey has asked military aid from Babylon. All right, they've been contacting the White House, and eventually Trump, whoever's the president at the time, more than likely it will be Trump. No one's going to beat him, and I do believe the Lord, is keeping him in there so that he can go ahead and, finish up everything that's about to happen. But let's get a couple scriptures, man. This is Jeremiah 49:20, and it reads, "Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh, and hear that he have taken against Edom, and his purposes that he have purpose against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them." And so, in my head, what I've been taught, and with the Israelis and everything, we know that the Israelis and the Turks are the same people, physically. They're all Khazarian Edomites, basically, and half, became Jewish and the other half became Muslim, but nevertheless, they're the same people. They come from the same tribe. And least of the flock, I'm always thinking Israelis. Well, it could also be the Turks. All right. And so either way it goes, they either faction, being the state of Israel, the Israelis, or the Turks could make this thing go full blown. It could go either way. Nevertheless, either would still fulfill the prophecy. All right, that the least of the flock shall draw them out. All right, and why? Because the prophecy says that the Lord is going to draw the nations to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and they have been drawn in. No one has really ever left, because NATO support is still there, and then all the opposition support is still there. And the battle rages on, and it's just going to continue until it fulfills its purpose. This is Joel 3 and 2. And it says, and I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And so how did the nation of Israel get scattered? Through slavery, man. You know, for the most part. All right. I mean, even the Northern Kingdom coming to Asareth, which is here in America, in the Americas, was still a result of slavery, you know, because the Northern Kingdom was in the Assyrian captivity. And they left the Assyrian captivity and came here to the Americas, to Asareth. All right. Which and that was still a result of slavery, man. So, you know, the Israelites got scattered. Let's get a couple scriptures to substantiate that. And the nation need to pay, because it tells you in First Maccabees 2 and 10, what nation have not gotten a part of us spoiled? They've all benefited from our downfall, destruction, you know. And then wherever we're scattered, the systems of Edomite superiority and supremacy reign supreme to oppress us and arrest our development. You know, we have arrested development wherever we are. All right. This is Deuteronomy 28:64, and it reads, and Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. All right. So we got scattered to the you know, among all nations. That's why I can understand why it's so difficult for some of these low-level Israelites to understand that not all of us are going to look the same, and how we've lived and mixed and lived among the heathen, and that we're going to have their physical attributes. You know, a lot of us are going to have their physical attributes, whatever heathen nation we're among. We're among all nations. So when you know, like when you come across some Japanese or Chinese kid that can pop, lock, and rap and dance and break dance, that's not something that the other nations can do. They just can't do it. All right. They don't have that. They don't have the sauce that we have, man. They just don't have it. All right. But this is damn glasses need to be tightened up because they won't sit up on my head right anymore. This is Revelation 5 and 9, and it reads, and they sung a new song. Thou art worthy to take the book and open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us out of Salakia, has redeemed us to God, to power, by the blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. See, so that's the end game. When Yahweh shot, and we're near that now. These events that are taking place in the world are leading up to this event, are leading up to this prophecy right here, man. Okay. And why? Because they're just literally trying to destroy us, you know. And the Lord is going to use Russia to put an end to Babylon, to the Edomites here in the West, man. And then all the people that are joined under Russia, and then those that are left, that are remain, we're going to put into chains. Thus saith the Bible, man. This is Ezekiel 38 and 4. Actually, should I start at 3? I'll just read 4. And it reads, and I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thy armies and horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, every great company with buckler and shield, all of them handling swords. All right. Then verse 5, it says, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, and all them with shield and helmet. And it's crazy that those are the very nations that are going to fight along with Russia. And these are mighty nations, man. All right. Matter of fact, the Persians and Ethiopians, they actually help us to establish biblical prophecy and figuring out who nations, what nations are what nations, because those are two of the nations that the Lord left their names upon intact. Because, you know, 99% of the world, when he got into power, he renamed and changed all the names of the different nations, man. and added names. All right, there's only 18 nations, but now there's, according to E, is hundreds of them. No, there's only 18 nations created, man. But E, what do he do? Every time somebody goes to a landmass and they would rename it, they would call people after that landmass. A landmass is not your heritage. Your heritage comes through your father, man. Simple as that. Whatever the Lord, whatever one of those 18 nations you go back to via your father, not your mother, that's who you are. Point blank, period. Don't matter how many times you get scattered, as a brother, as a what's my man? The dude that started the GDs or the BDs, Larry Hoover, met his cousin, and his cousin clearly knows he's an Israelite. And his cousin made a statement, on the line a couple weeks back, and he said, "Hey, if you take a cup of water from Lake Michigan, and you take that water, to Indiana, it's still Lake Michigan water. Or if you take it down to Mississippi, it's still Lake Michigan water, and because the subject matter was waters, sperm. So it doesn't matter what landmass you go to, that's still the waters of Lake Michigan. So if that's not simple enough for you, I don't know what else is." Another thing in the news that a study from Cambridge University revealed that biological weapons could be built when target individuals in specific ethnic groups based on their DNA. A report from University of Cambridge. All right. And I'm not going to go too deep into it. That's really was enough. But nevertheless, I've always often say that's what all this collection of this DNA is about. This ancestry this and DNA this, because they're trying to find out what people, are the scattered Israelite foreigners, because that DNA is going to tell on them. And they're not going to ever share that part with you. And then that way they'll know, because the most dangerous, word, the most dangerous nigga is they would love to say, is a nigga that don't look like a nigga, And if I've often mentioned that my mother came from a family of Jakes that were those niggas. They were Jakes, but they didn't look like Jakes. They looked more like Edom. Some of her family members looked completely like Edom, but they were 100% Jake. Their forefathers were so-called Negroes, man. But they lived their lives among, because life was easier for them. So they chose that side and cut off their families, man. They didn't deal with their Negro side of the family, so to speak. All right? Because that would have given them away, to get all them benefits and them goodies. But nevertheless, that's neither here nor there. The issue being that this biological weapon, man, that's gonna, it's gonna be against the other nations, but mainly against Jacob. That's who they're worried about. But among the elect, man, the only people that are gonna die from that of Israel is the 2/3. They're already marked for death. All right, they're already marked for death. But as far as the elect, man, you can't touch the elect, and the Lord will raise up that standard. And someone asked me a question about that. Now that I'm thinking about it, and so I'm gonna give you a scripture. But first, I'm gonna give you this scripture, which is Isaiah 54 and 17. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise up against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh, and their righteousness is of me, saith Yahweh. So, there it is, man. It don't matter what E does, the elect are already covered, man. There's nothing you can do to them. And some of the elect are marked for death, but they're going to be the first ones to get raised up. All right? If that be so. But then there be some, as the scripture said, who's never going to taste death, man. You're not going to be able to do a damn thing to them. And when you do start putting your hands on us, this is the answer. This is Daniel 12 and 1. And it says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, a great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, Everyone that shall be found written in the book. That's the elect. All right, and that's that standard. Michael is a part of that standard that the Lord is going to raise up against Esau E when they make that move, man. So there's really nothing they can do about it. So with that, I hope this was an edifying, informational lesson. Call Halal Yahal Bashim Nabashai Bashim Rakak Wadash Wa Abba Babal Shalom.